Can you be humble as an entrepreneur when you have a lot of money?
The Mark Zuckerbergs, what drives these people? What keeps them going? They don't need to work. Mm-hmm. They don't need to get up in the morning and work anymore. They've organized their financial bank accounts for the next 100 years, if not more. How many times I've been asked to visit a business, somebody wants to change his business into a franchise. He learns about me as a consultant, approaches me and said, Stephen, can you help me to convert my business to a franchise? What I'm hearing is, Stephen, can you help me duplicate my business to sell as a franchise? And then I will say, yeah, first thing I need to come and see and feel. And then I'm sitting in a meeting, and during this meeting of 1 hour, we speak for 10 minutes. Why? Because, oh, sorry, I have another telephone, and he's on the phone solving a problem here and solving a problem there, and sometimes has to excuse himself, get up from the table and go and talk privately. And from 1 hour of trying to understand from a consultant whether he's ready to franchise or not cannot give me 1 hour because he's so busy.
What should you do to be a very good salesman?
Don't sell.
Welcome to Mandachi Educast. Today we have a great guest, a good friend, one of my mentors, and my business consultant, Ştefan Wolfson. Ştefan, welcome.
Thank you very much. First of all, it's an honor and pleasure to be here. You speak about me as your mentor and trainer, yes. But trust me, there is also a lot I can learn from you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Who are you, Ştefan?
Okay, so my name is Ştefan Wolfson. My focus is on franchising.
Okay.
So I've been close to 40 years within the franchise business with all different kinds of caps. I've been franchisee. I've worked for one of the biggest companies of franchising in the world for 10 years, Subway. And since 2011, it's already 13 years, I have my own company, consulting company, and helping brands and franchise companies to develop and grow and make themselves better.
I have a big community with entrepreneurs, and they really asked me to invite you here because they learned a lot from you.
I'm very happy to hear so. I'm glad to hear.
You are very useful for entrepreneurs. How come?
You know what? I would say that probably because most of what I know is from the University of Life. I've been in most situations myself. I've had to survive many businesses myself. I have also failed in businesses before, and I think this is a very important element to learn what not to do. A very important element of learning how to be successful is to understand one's failures and to learn from them. It's like basically everything. You have to learn to fall off the bicycle a few times before you can learn how to drive it correctly. So I think that failure, if you learn from it, it's a very important element, and I have failed a few times, yes. But what I'm proud about now is at my age, I'm now 62 years old, and I think that, you know, what for me is success? Is it the amount of money I have in my bank? Not necessarily. I'm comfortable, everything is good, but you know, there is this Franchise Global magazine. It's one of the largest magazines in the world, and they have an annual awards for the best franchise systems in the world. And last year and again this year, I'm one of the judges.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And yes,
what does it mean? What does it mean to be there?
What it means is that together with 5 other judges, I've been selected as one of the world leaders in franchising in order to decide who should be considered some of the most successful franchise brands in the world. So for me, this is a big certification of
your work.
Of my work. So I'm very happy about that, and I'm also very happy to be here and helping to see how we can take Spartan as a brand to international levels and be a successful franchise brand, because there's absolutely no reason that it should not be.
Perfect. What does a successful franchise mean?
Okay, this is a good question. Successful, yes, a successful franchise can be measured also by the profitability and the power of the money it's created. But one of my mentors in franchising was the late Fred De Luca, who was the founder of Subway, for example. If I were to ask him what for him was successful, I think that he would be very proud of the fact that he created a lot of employment, a lot of wealth, a lot of opportunity for many other entrepreneurs. So I think that a franchise system that has in its system created work and businesses and prosperity for, in the case of Subway, for thousands of people who have made a healthy livelihood for themselves, who have been able to, via his system, put food on the table for their families and to employ many people. I think the more people that you can help succeed using your system, this for me is success.
Did you know personally Fred De Luca?
Very much so. Maybe.
Can you tell us more about him?
Yes. Well, first of all, he has a.
How many locations?
Before he passed in 2015, sadly, at the young age of 67 from leukemia. But when he passed, Subway was on 44,000 locations.
Oh my God.
Since his passing, Subway has now been purchased, and it's had to change hands and had to recover from his passing, because he was very much a hands-on director of the company.
But what about him as a leader? Can you describe me?
Yes, he was very, very down to earth, very humble. I can tell you some personal stories about the fact that we were in a meeting in his offices in Milford, Connecticut, and we were in a meeting with regional and lawyers and important people, and he forgot the time, and then he got up and said, sorry, somebody has to take me to the train station, otherwise I will lose my train time. This was Fred De Luca, where he was so wealthy, so successful.
But humble.
And he would drive to and from his work on the train, just like everybody else.
Can you be humble as an entrepreneur when you have a lot of money?
Yes, absolutely.
How come? Because when you are young, you want to grow.
Yes,
and you forget about this.
I think the question is what is one working for? Are they, and how do they use money? Are you working to make money, or are you using money to live? I think it's what is the purpose of money for a person who has succeeded in making a lot of money? So for me, it's about the fact that, okay, you've done a V on making sure that you're financially stable, and then you get on with it. So the question is, how is it that these people, so many people who influence me, I look at the great entrepreneurs of Elon Musk, yourself, the Mark Zuckerbergs. What drives these people? What keeps them going? They don't need to work. They've organized their financial bank accounts for the next 100 years, if not more. What drives them to wake up in the morning and carry on working? And you know what? Often it's these people that work harder than ever and work hardest in their company, and I get motivation from that. So I think that once a person reaches a certain level of setting goals, one of the successes of Fred De Luca was he would never reach his goal. he would change his goal before he reached it every time.
Why?
Because
the goals will die.
no, he moves it because he always broke his goals. He always reached them. So his one goal was to be the biggest fast food restaurant business in the world, selling sandwiches. Can you imagine somebody waking up in the morning and deciding that from sandwich business he's going to be the biggest chain in the world, bigger than McDonald's?
Bigger than McDonald's, yes.
Like what right do you have to think like this? Who are you to think you can be bigger than McDonald's? And I think that it's these special entrepreneurs that don't care. Why not? What does McDonald's got that I haven't? Why should we not beat them? And he did.
But how did he start?
It was the business model that he created, which was very different to the normal master franchise country development system. So usually master franchise, or the way McDonald's or KFC or Pizza Hut develops, is they would sell the territory to a master franchisee, and he would get the rights to develop it under terms and agreement of what he needed to do in his country. And Fred developed another system which has been used by many other chains today, and it's called a development system. It's not a master franchise system. And he would he would look for a leader who would be a franchisee with potential, with leadership qualities, and he'd make a deal with them and say, I'm going to ask you if you'd like to agree to be a developer in your territory. So you would look at the geographical territory and look at how many other QSR businesses you have in your territory, and you would always try to beat, within 7 years, have one more than the biggest of your competitors. So in many countries it was McDonald's, but where there were other countries where McDonald's was not the biggest, he would choose the biggest. And the development schedule would be built on beating that. And he would create a lot of partnerships, a lot of development agent partnerships with hundreds of people. Eventually he had, I don't know, but many developers. And each of them in their areas were trying to beat the biggest. So when you've got 100 partners all fighting to beat the biggest, you beat them. And that's how he did it.
I have a great program for entrepreneurs, a kind of a master class, when I teach them how to franchise their business. What should an entrepreneur do to start franchising a business?
So you invited me.
Yes, I know, but I have much more followers, much more entrepreneurs who would like to.
Yes, I know, but what we did speak about was the 8 conditions required to decide whether you're good or ready for franchising or not. So it's not complicated, but yes, there are certain prerequisites that you need to follow to make sure that, first of all, you are ready to franchise. So if you do want to sell the rights, what is franchising? It's selling the rights of what you've created to other people, to copy it and do what you've done. And they will pay you a royalty for learning from you how to do with them what you did with yourself. In a nutshell, simplified. In order to take money for the rights to use your system, you have to make sure that your system is proven.
Yes.
And so the first condition is proof of concept. Proof of concept. And so many people who have approached me as a consultant and asked me, Stephen, I have a business, I want to franchise it. My first question is, okay, can you prove to me that it is successful? Can you prove to me that you are able to help somebody else duplicate your business? Show me that it's successful. Success, what does success in a business mean? It means that it's profitable, that you are stable, that you have a stable clientele, that you are well enough established, that you haven't just started a business in 2 months and decided it's good enough to franchise because other people are saying, wow, what a great idea. Can you show me a P&L for a minimum of 1 year? Can you show me that you have profitability? What people often don't understand when they're going to franchise their business is that when they're in their own business, their profit and loss analysis, P&L, does not include them paying royalties to themselves. Now, their business becomes franchising. Franchise business is collecting royalties. You make your money by royalties that you collect. Will your franchisees be able to make enough profit after they've paid you? So, create a business model or speak with a consultant to help you understand the best business model that is suitable for you. And well, I can mention a few words about what is a business model relative to different businesses, and we can talk about that. But let's say in the food business, if a person is able to make 20% net profit, now he's going to take 6 or 7% from the franchisee. He also is going to collect some money for advertising because he wants to advertise for the nation, national advertising. So now all of a sudden this franchisee on his P&L has got less, 6, 7, 8%. After that he needs to be left with a minimum of 12 or 13%. Maybe he has to take some money from the bank and pay it back. And then he needs to go to the supermarket to buy food to bring home. He has to, it's going to replace his salary. So, do the numbers add up to begin with for franchising? Question number 1. Question number 2, does he have time to dedicate to a franchisee?
Very important.
Yes, because
be available.
To be available. How many times I've been asked to visit a business, somebody wants to change his business into a franchise, he learns about me as a consultant, approaches me and says, Stephen, can you help me to convert my business to a franchise? What I'm hearing is, Stephen, can you help me duplicate my business to sell as a franchise? And then I will say, yeah, first thing I need to come and see and feel. And then I'm sitting in a meeting, and during this meeting of 1 hour, we speak for 10 minutes. Why? Because, oh, sorry, I have another telephone. And he's on the phone solving a problem here and solving a problem there. And sometimes has to excuse himself, get up from the table and go and talk privately. And from 1 hour of trying to understand from a consultant whether he's ready to franchise or not cannot give me 1 hour. Because he's so busy. How?
He's not prepared.
How is he going to help a franchisee if he cannot take himself away from his own business? To help a franchisee. And I don't have to tell you, you know, for me, a indication of whether or not there is somebody managing their business correctly. You go to a busy restaurant, for example. You can sit in a busy restaurant, and over there you can see if the manager is good or not. And when I see the manager sitting and having coffee,
you understand all the things
with one of his clients, and it's busy. The restaurant is busy, it's crazy, it's full, people are waiting for tables, and the manager is sitting and having coffee. It's a good manager. Because he's built a system to delegate, that everybody knows what to do when it's busy, and he's prepared himself for this to such an extent that he just can sit and just look, and even if he goes, it's fine. This is a good manager. So, a franchisee, when I say, does he have the time? Has he created the time to become a franchisee? Or to franchise and become franchisor?
But what a good leader means, first of all, and second, how can we hire that good managers?
I think, look, it's a difficult question. It's very individual.
Yes, I know.
It's very individual.
This is the reason I ask you, because it's difficult.
I would say that the leadership of a good leader is somebody that is not so interested in the salary he's earning. He's not there for the money. He's there because he's passionate about the business, and is passionate about making sure, as a leader or manager, is that things are put in place correctly. I have a system which you know about. It's called a table. 5 elements of a table.
You presented in my program,
Yes.
my mentorship, in my masterclass. It was amazing, really amazing. All the students, all the entrepreneurs loved to learn from your system.
Thank you.
You should put this system all around the world, because and you also have a very, very, very good course. And congratulations for this.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
But I need your help to help me take the system to a higher level.
Of course, we connect each other.
Yeah, because I know my limitations. I created the system.
We'll do a great team. We already are doing a great team.
So I think that you asked what is a good leader and how...
How can we hire and to motivate managers to come in our company and to be motivated, to be really motivated? Not only to place them into our company and to leave or to run.
It goes back to the example of a manager who creates time for himself. Mm-hmm. And a good manager and a good leader tries to make things happen without him. This is a difference. A manager gets people to work. If a manager is him who is working, he's not a manager. Mm-hmm. A good manager will think about what can he do to put systems in place so that it can run without him. Mm-hmm. The difference between a business and not a business, you know, Robert Kiyosaki, the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then he wrote many books, but the 2 books that I think are his most successful books, or which I learned from, one was Rich Dad Poor Dad, and the second was cash flow. And in the cash flow, he has a cash flow system where he asks you, how do you earn your money? And there is a quadrant with 4 places. One is employee, self-employed, business, or investment. The difference between calling yourself a business, people who are self-employed and walk around with their van and do the work, they are self-employed. Doesn't matter how much money they make, they're not a business. The difference between that and a business is that he can be at home, he can take a vacation. If he is sick or does not work, that the business continues to generate income. A leader in business will create a situation where the business can carry on whether he works in it or not.
The business is not addicted to him.
It's not reliant on him. If he does not come to work in the morning, business carries on. Mm-hmm. Leadership of a business manager will create this situation. Mm-hmm. So we take another step back, and if we look at a checklist of what elements a manager needs to take care of in order to be able to delegate the business successfully enough that he does not have to be in, he needs to take care of the 5 elements which is in the table. But he has to work hard at building that first. So that manager that can have his coffee and everything runs smoothly, it's not because all he did all day and all night in the previous 6 months was drinking coffee. No. He worked very hard.
Yes.
In order
he didn't sleep.
He didn't sleep sometimes,
Yes.
in order that he can drink coffee when the restaurant is busy. It's how did he invest in the way the business should run without him.
In my program, I'm teaching the students, the entrepreneurs, about the importance of mindset. What do you think about this mindset? In my opinion, it's very, very, very important.
Mindset is we live our lives. Mm-hmm. And the question is, what is it that we want to do at the different chapters of our lives? So for me, I'm now 62 years old, and I know that I probably should prepare myself, or have prepared myself in the past, that from the age of 67 to 70, I should be able to, if I do not want to, wake up in the morning to work. If I do, It's called retirement or semi-retirement. What is retirement? Retirement means that you've organized your life in such a way that if you don't want to work, you don't have to. If you do, you do because you want to, not because you have to. So mindset is how do you want to spend your time during these periods, these chapters. You have a chapter at school. In some countries there is a chapter of military service. And then in some countries, or let's remove that, but 90% of the world today, after schooling, goes to university. This is the time in university. After university, time for finding a partner and building a home, marriage, children, anything between in the 30s, I would say, 30. Once this chapter is the next level, then you have usually married, kids, and then you need to prepare and you need to support them. So this is between another 20 years of working until you don't have the same energy. When you're at 50, you don't have the same energy that you have at 30. We're human. We're not Superman. Our body of 50 years old has been working for 50 years. It's not the same as a body of 30 years old. We don't have the same energy. So you need to, mindset is thinking when you're 20 and 25 and 30 about what's going to happen and prepare yourself for when you're in your 50s and when you're in your 60s and when you're in your 70s. So the mindset for me is never been satisfied with where you are. Always you work within the world you're in, but prepare for the next chapter. Always preparation for the next chapter. And if you have taken care of preparing for yourself, then make sure that the people who are reliant on you are also preparing themselves. Educating your children, for example, and making sure that they're okay. And so you want it to be a domino effect that when you go, they will continue onwards with their families and the tradition of the family. In order to achieve this mindset, one should never really be satisfied with saying or allowing themselves to get comfortable or too comfortable. To say, okay, everything is fine, I'm okay, I have a job, I have a house, I have a family, now everything is okay, I can relax. No. So for me, a healthy mindset is always preparing for the next stage. I don't know where I heard about it, but a healthy state of mind is to live today like it's your last, but prepare your life as if you're going to live forever.
Very, very nice. What's the importance of education for entrepreneurs? Because some of them stop education process.
The question is educating for themselves or educating
for themselves?
Onwards?
For themselves. I don't know, to go to a master class, I don't know, to read a book, to train.
I think that if we look at the big entrepreneurs and the successful entrepreneurs of the world, and the most successful officially is Elon Musk. Elon Musk never stops learning. He's always reading. He makes sure that in his daily schedule, weekly, monthly, he reads X amount of books. Never stops learning, never stops reading, never stops trying to understand. The group of world entrepreneurs, Warren Buffett, all of them, they might on social media, I think, I don't know them, I'm not inside this world. But I would assume that they try to learn from one another as much as possible. If not from them, then from whom? So, I take a lesson from them. If they never stop learning, who are we to say we learned enough? That never ends. And the question is, what more is there to learn? And I think this is infinite. It's never. There's never a ceiling. It's never, because you can learn everything you need to know in your field. Maybe if it's technical, there is maybe a glass ceiling. But what about other things? What about moving on? What about social responsibilities? What about influencing young? What can you do to carry on learning in order to do other things as well? How do you move on? You know, for everybody's individual, but I think it's a lot about giving back. You know, once you're okay, once you've managed to look after yourself, once you've managed to look after your direct family, and you're okay, and you have the ability to continue creating, then what else can you do? Never ends.
What about the people who are afraid to start a business because they think they are too old or there is too late for them? Not to start a business, maybe to develop a business because they think it's too late now, I'm too old.
You know, we can take one example from today and we can take one example from the past.
Okay.
I look at world leaders, and I'm not discussing good, bad, successful or not successful in the eyes of others, but I look at a guy like Joe Biden, he's the president of the most powerful country in the world. He is not young. You know, most people at his age are retired. Many people his age are in retirement homes. Think about the responsibility that this guy at his age has when he wakes up in the morning. It's amazing that such an individual at his age is doing what he's doing. And I'm not questioning what people think about him. It's not the discussion. Just taking a lesson from, and not only him, but other people who are not young. Professors who they can retire, they don't have to continue, they don't have to, but they wake up in the morning with some drive, amazing drive to continue. And why would somebody want to run for office to be elected at his age? Why? And so when you ask me from your question, is it too late? When is it right? It's never too late. You know, it depends, it's very individual. Another lesson from the past is KFC, Colonel Sanders. You know, this gentleman, Colonel
Started over
Sanders,
60. Tell us the story.
No, he opened his first store when he was 62 years old. 62 years old when he had a gas station, petrol station, and then the authorities made a change to the road system, so he wasn't having enough customers coming and filling gas. So he converted his gas station to a restaurant, his first restaurant. And this is when he opened his first restaurant, I think in 1954, when he was 62 years old. And he sold the KFC Corporation when he was 74 years old in 1962. So I don't have my calculation, but in 1962 he sold the corporation. At the time, I think it was $2 million, but today $2 million, same value, is $25-30 million. Also not a lot of money, but a lot for him. But a lot for him. Yes. Think about his story of starting such a business that today is one of the largest it is the largest chicken company in the world. It is one of the largest companies in the world, started by a guy from the age of 62. Incredible. So it's never too late. If you have the drive and the motivation, take a lesson from others. And now it is one of the biggest franchise chain all over the world. Yes, it's one of them. When started franchises? You know the sewing machines, Singer sewing machines. I don't remember the date, but in the 1800s, there was this guy by the name of Isaac Singer. The sewing machines was called after him, and he was an engineer, and he created the first sewing machine. There was no electricity. It wasn't that you could plug it into the electric. So the first one, you needed two people, one person to wind on the side, and then later on, he created the Singer machine with a table where with a pedal, you would turn the machine. So at the time, before he developed this machine, people used to sew by hand. So not only were the mothers and people in the home sewing by hand as much as they could, when you wanted to buy something, buy some clothing, the tailors didn't have machines. They were sewing by hand. So he developed this sewing machine, and it was very expensive at the time. It was, at the time, over 100 years ago, over $100. This is like a car, a lot of money. And he needed to generate money. He was the first company, he did two things. One of the first company that allowed people to pay it slowly, pay it off, leasing. You could pay your machine off over 3 years. I think it was $1.25 a week to have the machine. So he started leasing and licensing, but this machine was a complicated machine to teach. So it was one thing for people to just come and buy it, but it was another thing to teach them how to use it. It's like a car company selling cars to 12-year-olds. What does it? It's not going to help you if they don't have their licenses. So he had to create a system of educating and teaching the people who would buy it. And this course that he created became the franchisees. So if you wanted to sell the machine, in order to get the right to sell the machine, you needed to be qualified as a franchisee and also know how to teach the person who's going to buy the machine from you. And he then split up the United States in different sections and divided it into different regions. And the first official franchise agreement was made by the Singer organization. So that's when it started.
Very nice. How can you describe the explosion of franchises all over the world nowadays? The people are choosing franchises. Why?
Okay, I think that the answer to this question is understanding the mindset of a person who chooses to buy a franchise rather than to buy or to open his own business. So if you go down a street or go into a shopping mall, you will see some locations are not franchised. So there is somebody that opened his own business, took a loan from the bank or whatever, and took his chance to open his own business. A person who becomes a franchisee is somebody who wants to be independent, wants to be his own boss, but feels that he doesn't yet have the confidence enough to take the chance to open his own business. So everybody knows, if somebody is smart, that the learning curve, the time it's going to take for somebody to learn to make his business successful will take time, one, and two, there's risk. Because other people might be smarter than him as his competitors. So franchising is a perfect solution for people who want to be their own bosses, based on the system, proven system, as I mentioned before, of somebody else. You pay for the rights, you pay to get the system, you pay a royalty, and you can basically, you know what, in America or in many places, one would say to buy a franchise is to buy a job. You're paying to get some security from a proven system who will help you be your own boss, be in your own business, but not alone in your own business.
What a proven system mean?
Again, the proof of concept means that the franchisor has proven it. He can show that it's been successful, but more than that, has created systems, using the table, for example, whereby he can help a franchisee understand the business so that he can offload it and delegate it and explain how to do it in a simplified way.
Why it's so complicated or so hard for entrepreneurs to delegate?
I think it's an issue of being perfectionists. And people are scared to delegate because they worry that somebody else won't do a job as better or as well as they can. Sir Richard Branson wrote a very good book called Screw It, Just Do It. In other words, if you look for the perfection, chances are you might not get started. Just get started. Just start and fix on the way. Don't be stupid and don't be irresponsible about it. try to take mentors and get consultants and get advice to try to learn to do it as best as possible, and you will make mistakes. But if we look at any major company today, take cars for example, the evolution of changing cars and making them better never ends. Korean cars of today are better than the BMWs and Mercedes of 20 years ago. There's evolution of always making it better. So you wait, are you going to wait for the best perfect product to get started? You can't. You just have to get started.
Okay, what's the importance of marketing in a business?
Marketing is the word. If you take the word market, the word market is the same word as market. A shopping center or a department store is a market. You go, you take a trolley, you put stuff, and you're going to the market to buy product. In the old days, you'd go to the market, the local market, and you'd buy fish here, vegetables there, shoes there, and you go to the market. So let's not forget the origin of the word marketing. Marketing is to then compete with other competitors to get business. So any business has to then, and if we go back to the old days where the people would shout, tomatoes, buy mine, don't buy his, it's just making sure that people are knowing about you and giving you a chance to buy your product. You have to market in the most primitive form, and it never ends, because if you don't, your competitors will come and say, stop buying from him, buy from me. And marketing, there are 3 levels of marketing basically. So the first one is the introduction of a new product into a market. So somebody creates something crazy. Let's just take, for example, Tesla, electric cars. Totally new idea. Who would have thought when he started 20 years ago or 15 years ago developing the electric car that he would make such a revolution of electric cars? And by the way, they tried electric cars many, many years ago. It's not new.
It didn't work?
No, it wasn't pragmatic. It wasn't practical for the time, for that time.
Okay.
But today it's become more practical. Everybody's got electricity. But think about the mindset. So he had to introduce the Tesla, introduce his product into the market. Something new, he had to work very hard and persuade people to change and try an idea of driving electric car compared to fuel or engine. Stage 2, now what's happened is there's many competitors. Many more people are now doing what he's doing. Now, if you want the electric car, you can choose. Renault, many new companies that we didn't hear about before have started from the electric car. A lot of companies from China. I don't know too much, but you can get any car that respects itself today will have an electric car. Tesla's challenge now is to say, is second level marketing, is to cope with the competition, is to make sure that the others who are also making electric cars will also not take the business of Tesla. So second phase is to make sure that you're staying in the market. Third phase, if we take an example like Coca-Cola, why should Coca-Cola advertise today? Why? They're so powerful, they're so big, why do they? But they advertise. They do. They have a budget for advertising and it never ends. Third phase is to maintain your market presence. Don't forget about me. Maybe today you want a cola. Maybe you feel like a cola. Always never stop persuading people that they need a cola from time to time. So you have to continue marketing. If a company that does not market, one of the legs of the table is marketing. If you don't, you will lose your game. How many companies are there today who just disappeared? Not here anymore. How come? Where are they today? Some car companies, some cameras, Kodak. Where's a Kodak camera today? Why is a Kodak camera not a smartphone today? Where's Kodak?
Nokia the same, not a smartphone.
Nokia, they're a big company today.
But where is their smartphones?
They're in high tech. They're in technology.
Okay.
They're in
They are
technology.
still there, of
they're
course,
still there
yes.
as a company,
Yes, but not on smartphones.
And this is another great example. Where was Samsung 15, 20 years ago? The phone. Yeah, they were strong on TVs. Yes, everybody had a Samsung TV. But you remember the little phones with the flip? That was their call to fame. Then came Apple, created the touch screen and revolutionized phones. And then Samsung took advantage of competing with Apple. So today, there are other companies, but I guess 70% of the phone industry, smartphone industry, is a fight between
Samsung
Apple and
Apple.
Samsung. But where was Samsung? This is an amazing story, an amazing example of not giving up and not letting go and taking over Nokia, for example. Although Nokia is still very strong, you know, Africa where there's not internet and only on the SIM card without internet, smartphone doesn't mean anything. So in Africa, Nokia is very strong.
But why some entrepreneurs are afraid about the innovation?
It's all about self-confidence and believing you can do it or not. You get followers and you get leaders. And I think that this is human nature. And I think this is extremely important. I don't think that if we look at the examples of those who have succeeded and the success stories of the individuals, of the people behind their success names, if it was the guys I mentioned, Colonel Sanders, who is this guy? He was a salesman. Or Ronald Reagan, who was one of the presidents, he was an actor. Look at his evolution. So it's all about, take a beautiful example of somebody who I like, I admire, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Me too, yes.
Against all odds, against no reason whatsoever why he became a governor of California. What right did he have to be so successful? It's all about the mind. It's all about not listening to others saying, why should you succeed? Not listening to them, just ignore them, don't listen. He says, don't listen to the naysayers. It's a sentence out of what Arnold Schwarzenegger says. And believe in yourself. And I think that those people, to your question about those that think, why should I succeed? I think it's just a matter of mind. And you know what? If you don't succeed, but you try, it doesn't matter. It's just as good. At least go down fighting. Keep trying. What's the worst that can happen? What is the worst that can happen? You won't succeed. And maximum, the more times you fall and the more times you get up, you succeed even better afterwards. Because you learn, they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
You are very inspirational today. Very, very inspirational. Please tell me, what should you do to be a very good salesman?
Don't sell.
So to be a good salesman,
don't sell.
equal don't sell.
Yes. When you're selling to sell, you won't sell.
Very interesting. Yes.
You don't sell, then you'll sell.
Just try to help in a way.
Exactly. Help the person find a solution to their problem is the best way to sell.
But inside you want to sell. Deep inside you want to sell, in fact.
No, if you think about it, you won't succeed. If you think about the sale and the commission check from the sale, before you start, you won't sell.
But you need strategies when you go to sell.
Yeah.
What's the importance of a strategy?
Of sales?
Not necessary.
I want to talk about sales.
Okay. About sales then.
Okay, so the strategy of selling is, first of all, trusting and believing in what you want to sell. If a person who is trying to sell an Adidas shoe prefers not to wear an Adidas shoe himself, will not sell an Adidas shoe. First, believe in the product you're selling, but totally, without lying to yourself. Number one. If the moment you believe and you're passionate about what you're selling, then you'll sell. Because you're not selling the product, you're selling your passion about the product. And you're selling about yourself. A person who sells Adidas shoes will wear his shoes proudly and say, listen, you can choose what you like, but I only wear Adidas because they're the best for me. And I'm fit, I'm healthy, and it does this for me. He has a very good chance of selling them this way.
What means to be the best entrepreneur? To feel that you are the best. For example, in your area, you are one of the best, I think, in my opinion. But maybe we work in another areas, for example, to feel that you became the best in your domain.
I don't have the answer for that, actually. It's a difficult answer. I think that if you were to ask the leaders of Richard Branson, who is the owner of Virgin travel company, air company, if you were to ask him, is Virgin the best? He would probably say, yes, it's the best. But inside, will he be honest? He would probably question himself and say, you know what?
Am I the best?
Am I the best? And I think he should challenge himself. I don't know about what he does, but I would assume that he spends time traveling on the competitors to see if somebody is not better than him, and see if he is the best. And so I think it's about testing yourself all the time and always, proving to yourself.
I have two more questions. One about your dreams, the power of the dreams. I gave you the dreamer's notebook. Did you do it? You had 6 weeks.
I know.
You have an excuse because you had some problems in your country.
Yes. Okay, I go back to the chapters of where you are in your life, and I think that did I achieve my dreams to pass through to the next chapter? Yes or no? Okay, so I think that if you are satisfied and wake up in the morning and saying, first of all, what are the list of things that I would like to do if I could still do them tomorrow, given circumstances, then what will they be? And one should never stop dreaming. The goals change. For example, entrepreneurial dreams, once you've succeeded, or for me, becoming a respected mentor of franchising, I'm there. I've achieved what I don't think there's a place that I could go higher in my role as a franchise mentor. I've reached. So where else can I go? And I would say that right now I'm probably at the stage where I need to have a good question to myself and say, okay, so what is the next dream which is about giving? If I were to gauge and use as a barometer between 1 to 10, as a franchise consultant or mentor, out of 10, I'm 10. I've reached it. But giving back to society, I'm not good enough. I need to fix it. And this would be my next dream. What can I do to give back? And I would give myself out of 10, 2. I have a big job ahead of me to give back. The question now is, how can I give back?
Wow, it's amazing. And the last question for today is, if you have to give 3 advices for these 2 young men, what should you tell them?
1, whatever it is you're doing, try to be the best at it. So if we're looking at these gentlemen who are filming, they probably, I don't know, but they have a company of filming. And
he's the boss, but he's the owner, but he is his son, and he is now here because I think he wants to learn from you.
So if
he's 15 years old, and you are, how old are you? the same, 15 years. They are so young, and maybe they need some advices. 3 for them, not for him. He is also millionaire, not a problem.
Well, for him, he needs to try to be the best he can be.
He needs to cut his beard first of all. Okay.
So, first of all, whatever it is you're doing, just do the best you can and try to be the best at it. So, if you are your sport or your hobby or whatever it is that you are, and how you spend your spare time, just try to be the best that you can, possibly, in whatever it is that makes you happy. 1. 2, do what you love. Do what you love. And sometimes you need to be a little bit tough with the people around you, because maybe those, like a father would say, you need to do this. For me, your success value is when you are becoming a lawyer or becoming a doctor. But what if the guy wants to be a musician? Do what you love. Because we only have a very short time on this planet, and it goes very quickly. It's a pity to waste the time, those chapters of the hours of those years when you're married and you have to work and make a living. If you can use in that time doing and making your living from what you love, then you're not working. You're enjoying your life even when you are working. Do what you love.
And the third? Or it's enough?
No?
No, you have the third one.
The third is, whatever it is you're doing, you need some relaxation. Look after yourself. Your third is, look after yourself. If I give myself out of 10, what I do to look after myself, I give myself a 3. I don't look after myself correctly. I don't eat correctly. It's not good. I need to fix it. But I have hobbies. I play the piano, for example. I make sure that I find time to do those things which can relax my mind, to give me strength to carry on with the next day.
Stephen, this is one of my favorite podcasts I ever made. I want to thank you a lot.
Thank you.
And I also have a message for Robert Edwards, who introduced you to me. Robert, thank you very much. This guy is making a great job with Franchise City.
Yes, indeed. He's one of the
Let's
world
follow
leaders.
his channel.
One of the world leaders, and
very charismatic, and I learn a lot from him.
Yeah, I've also learned a lot from Robert. So, Robert, thank you.